So let's get together for the final trading day of the week and, of course, the month of March, the 31st Friday. And again, of course, this is how we effectively wrap up the first quarter of the year. The Nigerian market got its this week's biggest jump of 1.51% on Thursday as investors bought strongly into MTN shares, in the shares of UBA, Transcorp, a lot of earnings coming through. UBA reporting a very fantastic earnings for last year, adding additional final dividend of 90 kobo per share. Headline earnings came in about 15% better, about 29.2% better. Then you've got Transcorp also reporting better than expected numbers for 2022. Those earnings pile into investor sentiments. Investors just got out of the elections and the whole nuances around the elections and both presidential and subnational elections and parliament and all of that. Then you've got the earnings now coming through. The final lap of those earnings for the year. Quite a bit of earnings news also in play as for investors look at the Nigerian market. From Sterling Bank, Oando is looking to delist from the exchange and do a buyout of minority shareholders. A lot of activities there revving up the Nigerian market. The BRVM continued to that sluggish movement all through the week. The BRVM composite was down 0.42%. The Egyptian market finished the week Thursday 0.04%. It's still the Ramadan season, remember. Then you've got the NSC, that's the Nairobi bond market, down by 0.66%. They picketed the whole protest engineered by former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, who contested for presidency with William Ruto, still out there Mondays and Thursdays. And of course, the GSE up by 0.30% in line with emerging markets, shaking off the recent banking stress and trying to find a new horizon, putting a bit more of a risk-on sentiments on street on Thursday, and that is continuing today with data coming through from China manufacturing PMI for the month of March, much healthier than expected after the reopening of the country from COVID-19 pandemic. We expect equities market, risky assets to remain very strong this Friday. Let's take it down, look at some top story from Nigeria. I talked about Oando earlier. It's listed on the Johannesburg and the Lagos Stock Exchange. Many years ago, will now delist from both exchanges as the majority shareholder in Oando, who is the Ocean and Oil Development Company, would buy out minority shareholders at 7 kobo per share. That's for Nigerian shareholders, and it's equivalent in South African rand. That's subject to regulatory approval. In particular, the Nigeria Securities and Exchange Commission will say goodbye to Oando Nigeria Plc, doing upstream and downstream operations in Nigeria. The company will now go private. That's the plan, was announced to the market. Sterling Bank is that very big Nigeria's tier 2 lender. It's also got its shares on suspension until it completed its holdco structure, which the bank is going through. Sterling Bank is also looking to have a separate commercial bank, which will be non-interest, Islamic non-interest rate banking created in Nigeria. All that's in play. Yesterday, the NGX placed the stock on trading suspension until those issues are cleared. Transcorp reported a very robust 2022 numbers, revenue up nearly 22% as well to about 134.7 billion naira. Transcorp is a conglomerate, the largest indigenous conglomerate listed on the NGX, interest in oil and gas, power, hotel, hospitality business, and a whole lot of other businesses. The Bank of Ghana is mopping up excess liquidity and is now resetting the country's, the CRR, the cash reserve ratio for commercial banks from 12% to 14%, have a tighter liquidity and try to take off a few more cities from the market, get the currency a little bit healthier. And the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris was today touching down in Tanzania. There with yesterday, touchdown with was there with President Suluhu Hassan as part of a week-long visit to Africa. She started from Ghana, then off to Zambia, then finally in Tanzania, promising $1 billion aid to support Africa. Let's take a look at East African, where Kenya is signaling costly loans in the banking sector after raising rates to 9.5% from 8.75%. Patrick Njoroge yesterday gave a breakdown of the decisions of the Monetary Policy Committee in raising Kenya's interest rate, one of the highest level ever, on back of inflation and the liquidity in foreign currency that East Africa's biggest economy currently face. And the search for Njoroge's successor is now on. Patrick Njoroge is leaving the Central Bank of Kenya after 8 years in the Saudi. Second term has ended. In the meantime, Kenya, Congo, and Chad says they've accepted Afrexim Bank's feeder establishment agreement. Feeder is that subsidiary of the Afrexim Bank headquartered in Cairo, Egypt. And Uganda holds the lowest share of commercial debt in the entire East Africa. That's according to the country's Minister of Finance. Let's touch on Southern Africa. Let's get on with what the Leseja Kagyango's 5-member Monetary Policy Committee did yesterday. The Reserve Bank of South Africa moved interest rates to 7.75%. That takes prime lending to 11.25%. Effectively in Africa's most advanced economy. Inflation is, of course, the target for the SARB under Leseja. Give a very robust outlook as well on the state of the South African economy, as well as monetary policy outlook for the SARB moving into the deep end of the current fiscal year 2023. In the meantime, the President Ramaphosa's cabinet has approved that bill that will open up the power sector to other investors and give a whole lot of competition to the ailing utility giant Eskom. And Standard Bank and Absa says they've lent Zimbabwe about $183 million or $93 million to support Zimbabwe's hospitality, primary healthcare sector, and that's a very good news for everyone. And the FDB Group has approved $147 million in subordinated debt to Mauritius Commercial Bank, MCB, which is listed on the Mauritius Stock Exchange to support the the bank's capital increase, as well as lending to businesses within the island on the Indian Ocean. Let's get on to the North African market and just take a few headlines. ADNOC, which is the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, held talks with South Sudan officials in Abu Dhabi on further cooperation to support the Sahel countries' petroleum sector. And the Central Bank of Egypt is looking to decide the fate of the Egypt's interest rate and strong interest rates went up 2%, and the decision that was said on Thursday. The OCP group in Morocco will be paying the government a dividend, $750 million. That's quite a big chunk of money. And Libya is looking to raise its oil output to 2 million barrels per day, according to the budget committee for the country. And that's about it for today on Frontier Opening Bell. Have a great weekend, everyone, and I'll see you next time.